Hello everyone, I'm really excited and at the same time honored to welcome Professor Goel with us today to discuss public education in Bihar, electoral, economic and social aspects. Professor Goel is a Needonomist and former Vice Chancellor. He holds 40 years of experience in teaching. He is author of the book Economics, A Research Journey with Goel and has been honored with Dr. S. Radhakrishnan Award, Excellence Award in 2018. He is a researcher, guide, orator, and holds experience in educational governance in universities, under private, government, and state sector. Thank you for taking out time today, sir, and joining in with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Chania Kapoor. I'm grateful to you for giving me the wonderful opportunity to talk to you on Bihar. Bihar has been very close to my heart.
Right.
Let me share with you. I have a association with Bihar with great fondness. I have worked as Pro Vice Chancellor at Veer Kunwar Singh University, Ara. And so far the social aspect of Bihar is concerned, I like the culture of Pranam Sir, even by older people. It is worth appreciating. So far politics is concerned, I have tried to understand politics as art and science of making excuses, which you can make out coming practically from Bihar. Politics is art and science of doing wrong things at the right time.
Right.
Presently, when the political parties are in the process of contesting elections for Assembly of Bihar, I would like to say that the time has come when the politicians in power should learn the skill of developing the art of building consensus, because these days many of the national issues are being debated, discussed without understanding. Therefore, we need to have politicians in power who develop the skill of creating consensus, which is possible by devoting lot of time in the endeavor of politics. And moreover, presently, our politicians are victim of the so-called high commands in political parties. For strengthening democratic values, there should be no dictations coming from the so-called high command culture in our society. Regarding education, my first experience in Bihar working as Pro Vice Chancellor was to look at the examination system. The examination system, which I have seen over there, is basically using malpractices, mass copying, and for that, students justified. They said that there are no classes taking place in the institutions. Therefore, nobody can stop mass copying and unfair means in the Bihar educational system, particularly at a higher education level. I, being a stakeholder, I thought it that there should be some room for making a change in the education system, which is being talked about in Bihar. And let me honestly tell you that the government of Bihar, the chancellor of the universities, the governor of Bihar, when I was selected, was interested to basically come out with reforms at higher education level. And one interesting scheme which I want to point out is basically the Bihar Student Credit Card Yojana. It is a wonderful scheme, but sadly, it is also being misused and abused by many of the consultants who have been charging 30% of the commission from various institutions in the country, in other part of the country other than Bihar. Therefore, we have to basically monitor and evaluate the entire functioning of higher education in right perspectives when we think in terms of making a change, a sea change, which can come in Bihar after the new government takes over.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing this insight. And as you're talking about the upcoming elections and the new government that's coming, so how do you think that the provisions that are coming right now through center and state on education can be sustained and implemented in Bihar? Like, what should be the right strategy for that?
Ms. Kapoor, let me tell you honestly that the provisions in the new education policy 2020, which is a 66-page document and developed in 27 headings, is necessary but not sufficient for global knowledge economy, sustainable development goals 2030, and national youth policy 2014. So for sustainable development goals are concerned, you know, 5 of 17 goals are related with quality of education at all levels, and quality of our education is the concern in the new education policy, which is required to be implemented by almost all the states, including Bihar. And so far education is concerned, it is on the concurrent list. And sorry to say, this national education policy has been conceived by the government of India with a lot of discussions, but they have ignored National Youth Policy 2014 for that. You know, when we talk about democracy, we talk about our country as the largest democracy, and I consider democracy as a weakness because you might have seen the results of various elections in 2019. The rate of voting varies from 60% to 70%, and exactly it comes to be 64% overall in the country. And for that, we need to see the provisions there in the national youth policy, that is of involving youth into governance and democracy. Here I'm motivated to tell you that although politics is being talked about everywhere, but Bihar is one of the states where politics is of very popular. The younger students in the university system, I have seen almost all political parties in Bihar are having their youth wings in the universities, although they are creating problems also, but it is needed. And I believe that we should encourage our youth to enter into politics as a career instead of going in for becoming doctors, engineers, chartered accountants, and teachers. They should think of having politics as a career, particularly from the middle class, intelligent people who are ethical, who knows how to play their role in strengthening the democratic values in our country. And so far, the global knowledge economy is concerned, let me tell you, government is very ambitious when it talks of bringing 100 foreign universities to the country. I, being a teacher from the family of teachers, believe that we may be weak, but we are unique in many respects, and by strengthening our spiritual wisdom and communication skills, we can excel over the foreign universities, and we have many things to do. And so for making this new education policy sufficient with sustainability and implementation, we need to have educational ecosystem with real education. Real education means proper, productive, and practical use of hands, head, and heart by adopting well-defined public-private partnership model. I'm worried about the implementation of new education policy in the sense that we have a three-tier governance system in the country. We have central government, we have state government, we have local government. And so far central government is concerned, it is also poking its nose at every level of education. Can't we have proper distribution of the work at various level of education? I believe Government of India should confine to secondary education and nationalize secondary education free of cost as a public good to be given to all for basically creating education as a fundamental right. So far primary education is concerned, that can be left to Panchayati Raj institutions, the panchayats and municipalities. And for that, they should be allowed to generate the resources. And I have a humble submission to make that we have 3 certificates issued by these local governments. One is birth certificate, marriage certificate, and death certificate. These three certificates are not properly priced. If we have a proper pricing policy, at least 10% of the income of the couple, probably we can generate resources to a level which can be basically used for financing not only primary education, but they can be shared by the state government and the central government. So far, the values are concerned. You know, in this new education policy, we are talking of holistic development of personalities of our youth from the very beginning and to inculcate ethical values. For that, there is an adage, jack of all, master of all, which needs to be understood now, whereas it used to be jack of all, master of none in the earlier part of the 20th century when it was applicable to the bureaucracy who used to be called jack of all, master of none. Later on, this adage shifted to jack of all, master of one. That was a specialization era. That was sent back to drain because of the global financial crisis. Today, when we are facing COVID crisis, in post-COVID era, we need to adopt jack of all and master of all as a phenomena of education at all levels, which has been thought of as a personality development in a holistic sense by the government of India. There are many challenges in education in every state, including Bihar. Overpopulation is challenge number one. Many of us are careless and useless. How to convert them into careful and useful manpower? And we need to have balancing of demand and supply. And to maintain democratic values, I was telling to you as a challenge, we need to motivate our intelligent, ethical youth, particularly from middle class, to accept politics as a career. And this three-tier government should not poke its nose at every level of education. We have to link our fee structure and user charges with inflation rate. You know, financing higher education particularly has become a difficult task. The educational institutions are asked to provide many things, strengthen infrastructure, but they are not allowed to increase their fee structure. I have been observing that how to allow these educational institutions to basically come out with uh, increasing the fee structure and user charges. For that, I appeal upon the government of India to link it with inflation rate so that these user charges and fee structure can be linked with it and they are able to generate some resources for financing higher education. So far the challenge of competition is concerned, I was telling to you, the competition at all level, healthy or unhealthy, may not be able to basically lead to the results. I believe the present time when we are suffering from COVID crisis, we need to learn cooperation and coordination at all levels. And for that, we must have spiritual training of all the stakeholders of education, starting from politicians to the students. Without this, it will be very difficult to accept the challenges of competition.
Right, sir. Thank you so much for throwing light on National Education Policy 2020. So, sir, as we have seen that the concept of emotional intelligence has been acknowledged as a game changer worldwide. How, according to you, we can empower the young learners specifically at this stage so that they can invest their time in research work more effectively and the education sector, and as you said, in politics?
Uh, Miss Kapoor, let me honestly tell you, I have come out with two models which I am going to explain to you, smart and simple models, in which I have talked of emotional quotient. Emotional quotient is basically a term used to explain emotional intelligence as the ability to understand, use, and manage emotions in positive ways to relieve the stress and to empower and enlighten youth. I have come out with two models which I would like to talk to you about strengthening, empowering our Indian youth, which is required to be understood, analyzed, and interpreted. You might have heard about smartphone, smart city, or smart people, but I have been promoting the concept of street smart. Probably you might have heard, but if you don't understand, kindly put it in Google search engine and find out what street smart person is. Street smart person is a person who knows the environment around, who knows how to behave in the street, how to tackle the relationship at all levels, from family to basically professional life. And for that, we need to have transparency. Although transparency is being talked about online today, and artificial intelligence is at play, which is very good if it is used properly, but it's being misused also. And you might have heard that few days back, even the Twitter handle of Honorable Prime Minister was hijacked by somebody, and it is the misuse of transparency in the name of online education, online business, online banking. Therefore, we have to be alert, aware, and awake with Vivek rationality for adopting transparency in our system of education at all levels. We need to be responsive. I'm sorry to confess, when I was in Bihar, I was able to observe that results are never declared on time. Examinations have to be postponed again and again. The time has come when we have to adopt 24-hour model, 7 days model, maximum we can give 1 month. And we should not delay for taking decision makings. And we need to become really responsive in the strict sense of the term in the smart model. We need to adopt action-oriented approach, result-oriented approach by replacing target-oriented approach of wasting the resources as Bihar has wasted in a wonderful scheme. I appreciate the scheme itself, Bihar Student Credit Card Yojana, but it is being misused and abused by the stakeholders. The consultant have earned money, 30% from almost all the educational institutions in the country, taken their students from Bihar to other states, but we need to replace it by action-oriented approach and result-oriented approach. Instead of just conceiving things on paper, not implementing the things properly. We need to have morality. We have to go in for identifying do's and don'ts for us. We must have code of conduct for everybody, and we need to become simple in the strict sense of the term. Let me tell you, Ms. Kapoor, that Mahatma Gandhi has been talking of simple living and high thinking, but I always talk of simple living and no thinking. No thinking does not mean that we should not think. We should think of those things which are in our control, and we should not think of those things which are not in our control. And that is the message of Bhagavad Gita also. In this simple model, let me start in a reverse order. E stands for emotional quotient, which is basically you were talking about emotional intelligence. You know, we have to have patience, motivating power to motivate ourselves, motivate others, and empathize with others. Although people have lip sympathy for Biharis, they make use of them as domestic helps. They are being called by farmers to cut their crops, but they don't have empathy with them. You might have seen how migration was taking place, and the people were going back barefooted. They were not even provided by transportation, although at a later stage, government has provided railway facilities, but that was not sufficient. Therefore, we need to develop our emotional quotient if we really want to become simple in the strict sense of the term. The second component of this model is love oneself attitude. Bollywood talks of ilu ilu, I love you. But as a spiritual person coming from holy land of Kurukshetra, where Gita is being taught, and I consider Gita as my guru, the heart of Krishna, I always say love oneself attitude need to be developed. And for that, we need to understand science of soul. Soul is immortal, death rate is zero. And the present crisis of COVID need to be understood properly, and we should become fearless and avoid fear as false evidence is appearing real. We need to have health culture for physical development. You know, WHO has come out with a health protocol in which it has been talked about that you must have wearing the mask, you must have physical distancing, you must wash hands again and again. And this is necessary for physical development. For physical development, one more thing I would like to share with you. As a senior citizen, I was going to temple every day, but during lockdown, I was denied to go to temple. But it has given me a self-realization that my physical body is a temple. It is my duty to take care of it as a temple. And I go in for eating proper food, healthy food, as well as going in for physical exercises, which is a very important component of simple model. Mental level development. You know, my countrymen, particularly youth, politicians, all are using war of words, blame game. Stop it. Instead of that, we need to change our mindset. We have to change our looks. We have to change our actions. We have to change our words to make it the law of the land. We have to have intuition development. Being an economist, I always believe that it is our duty to make predictions. Writing is clear on the wall. India is going to emerge as a world leader. It is going to be called Vishwa Guru. If Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, with the soul's knowledge coming from Bhagavad Gita and Anu Gita, and believing that the rate of progress is faster than the rate of progress in materialism, probably we are going to become a world leader. Although Government of India is claiming its stake in the Security Council of United States, but I believe it will be bestowed upon us if we really believe in the science of soul, spirituality, and try to understand it, implement it, and adopt it. And for that, we need to have spiritual quotient development. Let me tell you, Ms. Kapoor, that emotional quotient is being possessed by animals also, but human beings are superior to animals, the machines. It is because of spiritual quotient development. For developing spiritual quotient, let me draw your kind attention to the logo of LIC. LIC talks of giving insurance of life to the people, and the logo says Yogam Kshemam Bahamyam. This Yogam Kshemam Bahamyam means your welfare is our responsibility, is the claim of LIC. But this practically comes from Bhagavad Gita, shloka number 22 of chapter 9, where Lord Krishna says, Anyanya Chintanto Mayo Jana Priyupaste Tesham Nityabhyutanam Yogam Kshemam Bahamyam. Meaning thereby, Lord Krishna says, if you believe me completely, absolutely, and wholeheartedly, whatever you need, that I'll give you. Whatever you have, that I'll take care of. Therefore, to my mind, basically, for empowerment of youth, for enlightenment of youth, we need to adopt this smart and simple model, which I have developed in my book, Economics of Human Resource Development in India, and that requires to be understood, analyzed, interpreted, and adopted in almost all the states, including Bihar. And I believe the people of Bihar, honest people believing in Pranam culture, they deserve to have good government in times to come. Let it be a wishful thinking of a person who lived in Bihar quite some time, around 2.5 months. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I think these were my questions. Do you want to add something else to it?
Yes, I can add. Being an economist, I have been conceptualizing Needonomics. Needonomics is economics of needs. This is required to be understood by every stakeholder. And let me tell you, this is ethical, non-violent, and spiritual in nature. It is in tune with the economic thoughts of Mahatma Gandhi. And it is also flowing from LIC logo, Yogam Kshemam Bahamyam. When I was telling to you about the shloka number 22 of chapter 9, the message of that is we should create needs. If I say you, what is this, Miss Kapoor?
A pen?
This is not pen. This is water filter,
Okay.
pen type water filter. And you know, we are victim of impure water. If you want to purify water, everybody needs a pen type water filter, which can be used anywhere and everywhere. Do you need it?
Yeah.
But I have not told you the price of that. It costs in dollars, $500.
Okay.
It is my duty now as a marketer. When we market the product, you know, presently the economy is suffering from recession. There is no demand of the products. It is the duty of the producers, distributors, and traders to make the commodities affordable. If after creating the need of the product, as I have created to you, that go in for this pen type water filter, it is our duty as a marketer, as a seller, to make it affordable. To make it affordable, if I say my man will come to you, he will simply be charging 1 rupee per day for 365 days. Meaning thereby, what I have done, I have made it affordable to you. And the pricing is worth of it. So from the concept of Needonomics, I have come out with a marketing approach, which I call NAW approach. First, we must learn to create need. What kind of educational product is needed by the people? It is our duty to conceive what kind of education we want to give. We have to create its need, and then we have to make it affordable, and the pricing should be worth of it. And probably that approach is required to be adopted everywhere, including education, health, all commodities, essential commodities, non-essential commodities, required to understand, analyze, interpret, and adopt Needonomics as a principle which I have been developing.
Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for joining in with us today for this insightful and enriching discussion. And I think we have learned a lot, especially the concept of Needonomics is very different, and I think everyone needs to know about it. So thank you so much.